Mike Tinkey has been a Mount Pleasant Town Council member for a few months now. In November, he's asking residents of the town to give him a full term to tackle infrastructure, traffic, and public safety. I talk one-on-one with Mike for this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and like Quintin's Close-Ups on Facebook. Mount Pleasant Town Councilman Mike Tinkey, welcome back to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thank you, Quintin. It's wonderful to be back with you. It's always a good time to have a conversation.
Oh, you're welcome. And I hope to have a conversation about your re-election bid in just a moment. But obviously, the big conversation right now in the town of Mount Pleasant, as you know, is about the Mount Pleasant Town Council's vote to unanimously approve a 4% wage increase for first responders. And of course, as you know, this took place at Tuesday night's meeting in Mount Pleasant. A couple of things. Why this? Why now?
Well, that's really an excellent question. And yes, we did vote unanimously to it. And it's actually more than 4% because in July 1, I voted July 1 when the new budget went in place,
right,
which 3.5% increase for first responders as well as other employees. And I voted on that as one of my first votes was on the budget for this upcoming year. So July 1, that went in place. So in addition to the 3.5%, there's a 4% increase, and in some cases it's higher because the wage survey called for wages to be adjusted in the first phase of the wage survey. In the second phase, it went across to pretty much all employees, and the vote was for first responders, which is almost 380 people. It's 17 different positions. But that's first responders and then police and fire, that's almost 380 people. So they would have had a 7.5% increase in a very short period of time. Plus, we voted to have additional staff to come on. Why now? That's a great question because I think it could have been done sooner had we had the wage survey in the budget process. And in the future, if I'm elected, I'll make sure our wage surveys are in conjunction with any discussions of the budget, so we don't have any contentious votes, which shouldn't have been contentious at all. We were all for increasing the wages for first responders, but it will be done in the normal budget process. And then find that we need to do mid-year adjustments. We certainly can do that, and we've done that with Public Works, for example,
right,
where we need to do a mid-year adjustment. And why do we do mid-year adjustments? Because we notice that if our area, we don't have, for some reason, because other areas raise their rates and either first responders or public works or cybersecurity individuals or other key people for the town, then we need to respond to that because we want to make sure we have the most competitive and the best, not only wages, but benefits, compensation, and a place to work of any place in the low country. And so we're committed to that. And the town councils back to the 70s have been committed to that and universally always are protecting first responders, police, and fire, but also the rest of the employees.
Councilman, please forgive me, but why did it get so contentious like this? I mean, obviously, we saw the video of you and Councilman John Afonso, who also was supposed to be on Quintin's Close-Ups this week, but he didn't appear, unfortunately, and I hope to get him back on. But how do we get here with all these contentions with pay raises?
Yeah, I think it's a real simple thing. Every 5 years, there's a reassessment of property. And the reassessment of property then goes back to the town councils with which and where the people in Charleston County are living. And that town council can keep the taxes the same, or they can allow it to be to go up. And how that works is what's called millage. And so if you don't roll millage, if you don't roll back the impact of that tax, and in this case was 3.7%, and then taxes are going to go up. And so 4 of us felt that we did not need to raise taxes to fund police and fire. We could take that out of other funds, a surplus, other funds that the town could have, because we didn't want to raise taxes on our citizens. Some of the 5 took that as an opportunity to say we were against police and fire. The vote was simply about whether to raise taxes or not. We chose not to raise taxes. And then we got accused of not supporting police and fire when, in fact, the discussion of police and fire had to be at a totally different meeting, which was one of the meetings that we subsequently had of a town council meeting. Then we also, again, all of us are were for funding police and fire. In fact, each of the last couple of years have been increases in police and fire, and as recently as 2023, there was another wage survey that showed that it wasn't competitive, and a different council voted to increase. So there's been a consistent move on the part to do that. So when we went to the council meeting, that wage survey did not speak at all about the increase in the number of people on staff. And there were, it also, the discussion of police and fire did not go through the normal transparent, open, and process of going through committee and then to town council. It was really sped up. And quite frankly, I don't want to think it's just because it's election season, but it certainly seems that way. And so we simply said, we're going to pass unanimously that we want these things to happen. We just like to go back and look at how it's being done. And in some cases, because the wage survey called for a 6% raise, not a 4%, the 4% was simply because the raise in taxes gave us $5.2 million. And if we put the whole bundle of benefits together, 4% yielded something close to $5.2 million. And so we thought it was important to go back and look at it because we might want to raise it higher than 4%. We might want to raise it to 5 or 6. And so the reality is it was simply a matter of how we deliberated and where the money came from. And I think it all started with, the difference of opinion of whether to raise taxes or not.
But Councilman, obviously there was some controversy over you basically telling Gary Santos to allegedly tell him to vote with the mayor. Was that professional in your mind?
Let me tell you, yes, it was. It was professional and ethical and legal, because the reality is council persons talk to each other all the time, and they talk to each other all the time. You write notes all the time. You share information with each other. Perfectly legal by state law. In fact, I asked the lawyer, the lawyer that represents the town, that in the meeting. He said it's absolutely legal. What he said wasn't legal, really, and if you look at it, was an interruption of decorum, disrupting a meeting by getting up, going behind another councilman and grabbing people's pieces of paper and interrupting the meeting, interrupting the flow of the meeting. And that's not necessary. It's not, I don't think it's what the town and the people of the town expect us to do, quite frankly. So but we've shaken hands.
Right, saw that.
And we've shaken hands. We've said, okay, we all get heated in the moments of discussion, and there's a right way and a wrong way to go about it. And so we're going to move forward together, and I trust we will. I've worked with that councilman well in the past, and I look forward to working well with him in the future.
Well, let me ask you this. And the councilman that you referred to is obviously John Ofonko, which many people have seen in that particular video. But then why not censor him if he was behaving in that manner?
So what they determined to do was to understand, and as you recall, if you listen to and watch the telecast, he said, "I guess this is about me, isn't it?" When we were discussing decorum, and I guess it's about me. Well, it was. And so what we thought was the best thing to do is to review what are the rules of decorum, what you can and can't do, and pledge to move forward in a more civil way. And that's why we also went and looked at the municipal code for decorum and unanimously passed that right afterwards. And we realized, and I share this, that every council person or commission person or volunteer should know what the rules of decorum are as you work, and Robert's Rules of Order as you work and deliberate. Because at the end of the day, the people expect us to work collegially with civility, and as much harmony as we can, even though we disagree vehemently sometimes, to work together for the best interest of the community. And they don't expect us to act otherwise.
Well, and I should have said censure. Pardon me for saying that. Censure earlier. I meant to say censure. But let me ask you this. But then, why not just pull Gary to the side before the meeting started?
So the reality is, Mr. Acofano, Councilman Acofano was, if you look at the video, was talking to Mr. Acofano was talking to Gary over and over again, and Gary looked at me, sort of because he couldn't. It was hard for him to concentrate or whatever, and he looked at me because we were in the middle of 2 or 3 different votes, and he looked at me and said, looking for my thoughts. And so instead of me getting in his ear or talking to it in his ear, this was a motion basically by the mayor, and so I said, just vote with the mayor. So it's a simple thing. It's an exchange of information that is perfectly legal.
Yes, sir.
Legal. Let me. My dogs are very happy about this. No, so I don't want to bemoan it too much.
Right.
Because I think it was the main thing to recognize, and what's being portrayed is we were against police and fire. We absolutely, categorically were not police and fire. We were always supportive of them, and the history of the council is always supportive. Every vote I've taken is on record. It can be shown that I'm for police and fire. And so I think that's the key thing. And we voted to do that, and we're working forward to do it. And I'm on the fire committee, I'm on the police judicial legal committee, I'm on the human resource committee, and watch my actions. My actions have been to vote for it in the past, and my actions will continue to be vote for it in the future. And that includes transportation and safety issues that have to do with the safety of every citizen in the town. So I pledge to have the civility and the harmony and to work together to do it. And in doing that, yes, I'm going to talk to other council persons. I'm going to work on building the votes to do these types of things. I may write things down. I may talk to people, but I'm going to work together for each citizen to make sure they continue to have a safe place to live, work, and play.
Well, let me ask you one last question about this. Before you, obviously, I guess, wrote that message to Gary Santos, how many votes did the mayor have prior to that?
The votes were on different things, and so the unanimous vote that you saw was representative of the votes that people felt that they felt. The only difference in the discussions over time was whether we went back and went to committee and just evaluated it more and decided if we wanted to go up to 5 or 6%, or we wanted to look at housing allowances and whatnot. And so I spent a lot of time, Quintin, between the previous council meeting and the committee meeting, etc., trying to understand. I needed the time to take the time to understand who was being included in the wage increases, how were they being included, what the history was, and to really dive deep into the issue so that I could do what the citizens expect me to do, to deliberate and to understand the issues best so we don't have unintended consequences. And so for that reason, when I...
Right. Oh, yes, sir. Oh, there you go.
Are you still there?
Oh, yes, sir. Right here. Yeah. Oh, I understand that completely.
Hopefully you can clip it. So I was prepared to vote for it. I voted for it, as you recall,
right,
in the Human Resource Committee meeting the week before. I seconded the motion. I seconded the motion for the 4%, and so when it came to recommend that to the special town council meeting, so when it went to special town council meeting, I was prepared to vote for it. And so, that was my position after I had the deliberation, and that's what I did. And again,
Yes,
I was
sir.
for it.
Oh yeah, and let me just jump right into those issues that you just mentioned. From what I understand, so 4%, as you mentioned, isn't that even one point? Let's say a $1.20 raise for $30. Isn't that not reasonable in your mind?
So what I found, when that, thank you for asking these questions. Remember, there's a 3.5% increase, and then in July 1 budget,
Yeah.
there was 4% there, and so I wanted to know. I didn't want us to have a median um, wage for our first responders. I wanted us to be at the top. At the top. What you really want to know is they're being paid competitive wages compared to the areas all around us. And with the wage survey, I said we were not. We were not. So I was not satisfied until I knew we were being paid right at the top, competitive wages with our other areas. And in fact, I was interested in having it go more. So potentially, and in the future, in the next few meetings, should I get elected, I'll look at seeing how we can do it more. So when I saw the graphs and the charts, it showed that we were right at the top, because I was concerned it wouldn't bring us to where we need to be, which is your question, a competitive wage and benefits. Now, remember, this is just wage. It doesn't
Right.
have the benefits in it. It doesn't have the incentives in it. It doesn't have a lot of the other things that we voted to give to do as well. So I think knowing that we are now at a competitive wage in a situation where our town is a safe town, it's a safer town than our surrounding towns as far as crime, violent crime, etc., gives the 380 folks that work so hard, put their lives at risk, are out there working for us every day, to know that we worked hard to make sure that they were at the top of the wage scale, and that's where we are
But
with that vote.
with that vote, but when you look at this, I mean, right now, from what I understand, according to research, Councilman, the town of Mount Pleasant has actually jumped from number 1 to number 8 as far as safety. How do we get there?
Well, we are still we are at the top as the large city in the United States, in South Carolina. We're the safest of large cities in South Carolina, and so we can rest assured that our crime rate for the last 5 years has not gone up. If you look at the statistics, the real statistics, the ones that are kept by the town, our retention rate has stayed the same. Our crime rate has stayed the same, no increase of it. So there's been a lot of misinformation that is out there, Quinn. And so when in doubt, it's always good to look at the facts. Now, if you look at Quinn, if you look at Charleston County, I just toured the jail, and retention is a problem for first responders, police, and fire all over South Carolina. But we are not at the dire situation that, for example, Charleston County is with their jail. They have a 32%, they have 100 people they're short in the jail. 100 people short. Now, they're working hard to get that up, but they have real issues there. And so our issues are issues of retention that are the same they've been for 5 years, and our crime rate is the same it's been for 5 years. And so those are the facts. Anything that you hear other than that is just is not true.
So, what is the retention rate right now in the town of Mount Pleasant?
It's the retention. I can send you statistics after this, but it's the same. What the point is, it's the same percentage as it has been for the last 5 years. The crime rate is a similar crime rate as well. So what I'd like to look at is if I saw, and so this was the big issue. This is what people brought up. Gee, the sky is falling. The sky's not falling, but it is the election season. And so all of a sudden, Quintin, we've been talking for what, 2 years?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Quintin, how often has the crime rate and the retention rate been brought to your attention? It seems that in the last 30 days, it becomes a pretty significant issue that's been brought to you, but during our budget process, it really didn't come up. And it's something that is watched extremely carefully by all 9 council persons and the town staff, because at the end of the day, that's our job number 1, is safety of our people. Safety of our people. And we are going to make sure that we pay them competitively. We make sure their benefits and their equipment are given to them. And in the budget this year, there already are additional positions for fire in addition to what we just voted for. We've got equipment that has been ordered for them, and it's on the way. It just it takes the time for get the equipment in. So Quintin, I think that there are a lot of other issues, Quintin, that we can talk about.
Sure.
This is not one that is this is one that has surfaced as a election issue. It's a serious issue, but it's been addressed. It's being addressed, and will continue to be addressed. The other things about we've got serious issues of transportation safety. Those are the type of things I work on every single day, Quintin.
Yeah,
there's serious issues of loss of green space that we need to address and make sure that we protect, preserve, and have more green space. There are serious issues as far as other livability issues where commercial meets residential. All these are issues that I work on every single day to make sure we have a more livable place for ourselves to live, work, and play. The folks that are listening today can rest assured that these are issues that I worked on before I got elected and promised to work on. There's issues that I'm doing substantive things on today, and Quintin, that I'll continue to do if I'm blessed to be reelected in November.
And I want to talk to you about that in just a second. But going back to that wage study, and obviously the increase that you all have for the first responders in the town of Mount Pleasant, how will 4% actually catch up to these surrounding departments and surrounding areas?
It just did. I just explained it. It's not just 4%. It was 3.5% before. In some cases, under the wage survey and the phase one of the wage survey, there may be a 9.5% increase. Some of the positions are getting even more increases. So when I looked at the 72 positions, which were many positions all throughout the town, which were and the first phase, these were positions like public works. These were issues that and it was a minority of the positions in police and fire, but in some cases they were going up 9.5%. So we looked at it selectively by job classification. And then we looked at it, comparing it to Goose Creek, to Charleston, and others, and we are right there at the top. And so, for those that say it's not enough, I mean, everybody would like to be paid more money, but if you know that you're not in the median, you're at the top. And we, as a council, voted to have you right at the top. And when you add all the different increases together, that's where you are. I think people can feel very comfortable.
Well, let me ask a better question. In what way will the town offer a competitive wage as a continual process and not just a completed task?
But the way they've done it since 1977. So we had people come and speak at the meeting, and we had multiple people from multiple town councils come and speak, and they reiterated that this has been a constant improvement. I mean, they've constantly taken this into account, and it doesn't really matter which administration they've done it. And so this, since I know since 2021, for example, just because I've been paying more attention since then, there have been wage increases, and then there's been unique increases from a wage survey in 2023. So I have committed to making sure that that wage survey is done every 2 years, and if it needs to be done more often, we will. With the budget process, so that we don't have any surprises. And we also have a human resources department that's looking to see what's happening. If all of a sudden Goose Creek decides to go up 3% now, or we end up with a wage war, we'll know it, and we'll be aware of that, and we will do whatever we can to attract and retain our workforce. So I don't think it's anything that we're doing is new. I think it's the only thing new is putting the wage survey in front of the budget process so that we can do it collectively. But no, we're committed to making sure that wages stay there, and this is not a one-time thing. This is
Right.
what has been done by councils for many years.
I want to ask you about that. What ideal administrative practices should be implemented so that the town of Mount Pleasant can actually maintain your competitiveness within the market and this region?
They're already done. We're already doing it. We're already doing it. That's why, think about how fast this happened. Really think about how fast it happened. The budget process is a good part of 6 months.
Right.
We did this in less than a month and a half. I don't know if you can do it much faster than that, and we did it without really going through committee. I mean, all the committees that would touch it, which is police, judicial, legal, fire committee, finance. It only went through the human resource committee, of which I voted and seconded it, the raise to be there. So I think the process is there to do it, and because it calls for doing wage surveys when we see there's issues. So what we've done too is if there's an issue like in IT, or there's an issue like in public works, and we feel that there's some pressure there. I think people like their trash picked up. I think people like to know that they're being taken care of and their streets are clean. And there's as many people in public works as there are in police and fire. They deserve to make sure that they have a competitive wage with everybody else. And I'm committed to that. So when we saw that there was an issue there, we jumped on it. And we will selectively look at job classifications that may get out of kilter because of what's happening in the marketplace. The marketplace is a fluid place. And so we will continue to be committed to that. And we have an excellent staff. We have an excellent town council. And we will make sure, and we have a commitment to us that we'll make sure that and we'll hear about that, and we'll take care of people as we need to.
And two last questions on this. How many departments within the town of Mount Pleasant have actually had salary surveys?
Well, every 2 years.
Okay.
Every 2 years it happens, and within that, there's probably half a dozen where they do it selectively when an issue arises.
Okay. And let me ask you this. With this, obviously, this increase that was just passed on Tuesday, how many additional staff can you all hire now?
There's additional staff that's hired in police, and there's additional staff that's hired in fire. I think between the two of it is 10 to 12 different ones that are being hired. And so and this has been happening on an ongoing basis too. If you look at your personal bank account and you're budgeting, there's things that you'd love to do and like to do, and there's things that you can do based on the budget that you have. And so what we've also done is we've continually increased staff as needed in these areas, because at the end of the day, what you also are looking at is what are the results we have with the staffing that we have today. We have a safe city. We have a good retention. We have our results, our benchmarks are strong. And so we are adding staff as the budget allows, and also based on the results that we see in the marketplace.
So how do you keep those benchmarks consistent in the next 10 years? I know I'm being redundant.
Well, Quintin, I think it's important to know that, and again, we've given this. I know you're asking the same question. I'm going to give you the same answer. We're doing it, and if I'm there, and if I'm reelected, I will ensure that will happen. And because I'm on those committees, I am on the committees that Carl Ritchie was on. Carl Ritchie did a great job. He was our former police chief. Have a good relationship with him. We need to have a good relationship with our tri-county area, because we have reciprocal relationships with all our areas, and those reciprocal relationships are strong. And we'll continue to strengthen those and work together for the safety of folks. When there was a break-in not too long ago, the person was found up in Hanahan, and we've captured people here because there's a crime in Goose Creek. So I can assure you that as a reelected town councilman, I will continue what I've already done. Voted for police and fire, voted to make sure we have statistics, make sure that we know what's happening competitively in the marketplace, and meet with people to assure that happens.
And how many people do you need in place right now? Stand-in people right now for those particular departments you just mentioned.
I think I've answered that question already. We have we've taken the recommendations that have been come from police and fire. I asked the police chief and the fire chief. I always ask them, Chief. We asked them the budget process. We asked them this last time. Do you have everything you need? And they said yes. So the question is, the people that we hire, the professionals that we hire, we put our trust in them and our respect in them. We trust but verify, but we ask them, do they have everything they need? And so within, and they've said yes. And so, we will continue to monitor things. We'll continue to look at things, but they've said yes. And we'll also look at the benchmarks and statistics of what it really looks like, or do the people we have yield what we need? And one of the areas that I think is new and we're continuing to improve on it is rapid response vehicles.
Right.
So if you have a rapid response vehicle with a first responder on it, and it's staged where the traffic backs up, where it backs up a lot, and there's an accident, which means it's going to get worse, and there's a person injured, and you need to get the car out of the way so traffic can flow, those ready response vehicles are at those positions in the morning and the afternoon, whether it's 41 or down at the bridge, at Ravenel Bridge, to make sure they can react quickly. And they're doing that. They're saving lives. They're really keeping the traffic moving. So we're looking at, and I suspect we'll add more ready response vehicles based on the traffic flow and the studies that we see, because a lot of the issues of safety are related to traffic. So one of the things we're working on is continually improving our roads, our infrastructure, our speed limits. We're looking at things like e-bikes and whatnot to protect our children. Right. We certainly want to protect our children, and we're doing a lot with the school systems, the middle schools, to do that. So I think it's we have to look at it from all aspects of where are the issues that safety is, we're concerned for safety, where do we know that there's things we need to take care of, and we're doing that.
And obviously, I want to talk to you about transportation. So let me ask you, what is the town's 5-point plan for transportation with infrastructure?
Quintin, just thank you for your question. Our infrastructure is based on what we see in the marketplace of where the needs are. And so we have multiple things, and it's not a quote unquote 5-point plan. I was going to put the transportation, there's a whole, it's a whole manual. It's not as easy as to say, Quintin, is what's your 5-point plan? It's looking at the whole town, the 52 square miles, 100,000 people, and where the roads and arteries are. It is understanding where the most critical needs are and addressing those critical needs. So 41 is a critical need. So we're looking at, for example, we just put a new traffic calming light up at Rivertown. It's active now. At Stockdale, we have a road that needed to have infrastructure of safety infrastructure and traffic lights put in before any new development was done. That's been put in, and that's happening on Middle Street and Center Street, where they're very active. We're putting in traffic calming with a pilot with roundabouts there and seeing how that works. Whether it's around the schools, we're looking at the schools as far as how we have police and fire, or police really there positioned at peak times, like when the school kids get out at the end of the day. Whether it's the Mount Pleasant Way as far as connectivity, we're looking at connectivity throughout the town so that if you're riding a bike like you do, you don't have it just stop and all of a sudden you feel like you're going to get run over. Now that takes a long time to get Mount Pleasant Way finished in connectivity. Obviously, we'd like connectivity throughout the town. We'd like it to go across the bridge and to the Battery if we needed to. But the connectivity of Mount Pleasant Way is another way to do it. When we're looking at, for example, in the north area, over 100 millions and millions and millions have been spent in different areas like Vaughn Parkway, Billy Swales Boulevard. Sure. So if anybody's interested in the plan, you can look on the transportation site, our town transportation site, and it will give you a list of the areas that are being addressed. a detailed list. And if you come to the first Monday of every month to the Transportation Committee, you can come to that and you can see and learn what's going on. But what I ask people to do is, if you're not on that list or you feel like you're not getting taken care of, then please come and work with me and I'll help get it on the list. And that's what I've been doing. So I've been able to get some improvements of areas in town where it's become obvious that we need to do some improvements, and we're getting them done. So citizen input is really important, Quintin, as we go through that.